Hello and welcome to Maxim Foods Inside Track. We're a week away from Easter, can you believe it? I hope everyone's had a good first quarter of the year. Let's dive into the dairy industry. Having a look at whole milk powder, so we saw a 4.2% decrease in GDT last night, which was in line with futures prediction there. Basic sentiment in the south part of New Zealand, or South Island, we do see some good milk on the shoulder of the season, good milk production. In the North Island, milk a bit more flat, but as a whole, milk is performing, or milk production is good in New Zealand, so supply is there. Demand has been waning, as you know, in North Asia, and that had previously been swallowed up in terms of demand from North Africa, Middle East, and also Southeast Asia. As those regions are softening in demand, we do see that softening in price. This is probably the fourth consecutive negative GDT result since February. Where it will go from here, obviously New Zealand milk will taper off as we go into winter. However, demand doesn't really seem to be as robust, so we should see a reasonably stable to bearish outlook in the next 3 months. Having a look at skim milk powder, so if we look at it on a global scale, things reasonably balanced in the US, conditions reasonably stable. In the EU, coming into their season, or well into their season now, we do see some good supply and demand reasonably weak, so pricing for skim in the EU is stable to bearish. If you're having a look over in New Zealand, Australia, we saw a second consecutive decrease last night, significant decrease in the GDT of about 5%. So yeah, demand is pretty soft, and with people favouring, or processors favouring, a butter skim mix, there is a bit of skim around, so supply is reasonably abundant, demand soft, which would suggest that pricing will remain stable to bearish in the next 3 months. In stark contrast to the powder results, butterfat remains very robust in price. So demand is good, supply is down in New Zealand and Australia. If we look over in the US on a global scale, demand's still good for fats. Central American, Mexican demand for US butter is still there. Domestic demand is still there. So pricing remains quite robust. In the EU, a bit more of a tumultuous scenario over there, a lot of volatility in the market, but as a general rule, pricing is up there, especially bearing in mind that supply is okay there as well. So demand's good in the EU, good in the US, and for Australian and New Zealand butter, demand has really remained high and supply down. So yeah, it is the best performing of the commodities at the moment, and for the next 3 to 4 months, as people continue to purchase hand to mouth, you would suggest that pricing will remain, reasonably stable. What that looks like further out, historically these prices have burnt off demand, but it doesn't seem to be happening at the moment. So I'm thinking short term there will be continued stability and firmness in pricing, but what the next 6 months looks like beyond that, not too sure. Having a look at whey powder, so on sweet whey, a very balanced market, pricing stable and has been for the last sort of 2 to 3 months, so things well balanced on supply and demand. In terms of the proteins, a similar story to the last 2 to 3 months, some really robust demand, supply down, and prices remaining firm. We don't see much change in that situation for the next 3 to 6 months. Finishing off with cheese, look at it on a global scale again. In the US, slightly bearish demand conditions. We have seen a lot of volatility in the last 6 months in the US cheese market. However, demand has been quite soft in the last fortnight, and prices starting to wane off a bit. In terms of the EU market, some surprisingly robust demand. Supply is good going into their season or into their season at the moment. So demand is holding up, and so is pricing for EU cheese. Australia and New Zealand, once again, I had explained on previous Inside Tracks that there was a lot of Aussie cheese made over last season. So we do see still some good supply of cheese in the market, which is capping price at the moment. I think leading into the winter months, we will see that supply wane off and prices increase, but for the minute, there's some good value in block cheese. Well, thanks very much for listening to today's Inside Track. I hope you have a wonderful and safe Easter with family and friends, and we'll see you again in a fortnight.